Conceive, believe, achieve. Shut the fuck up.
This is Believe You Me on the Gas Digital Network.
All right, we'll go down the card a little bit, but before we do, John Jones, Anthony Smith.
Oh wait, I'm sorry, that was main event. We still have
Yeah. We got plenty. But main event, John Jones, Anthony Smith. Give your prediction.
I'm gonna say that John Jones stops Anthony Smith via strikes in the second round to a very disappointed Luis J. Gomez. If I'm giving my honest opinion,
I feel the exact same way. You know, I'm rooting for Anthony, and I'm not saying that it can't happen. And if he sees the headline or something, Bisping says this, watch this thing, Smith. And I think he'll agree. You know, he is an underdog, and there's a reason why he's the underdog. That doesn't mean that he can't still win the fight. But I do see the first round, Jones probably keeping him on the outside, breaking him down a little bit. And then in the second round, Jones will probably get a really good takedown, nice clean double leg, and then unleash some real nasty elbows. Smith, as tough as he is, he's not really a standout wrestler. And even though he has a black belt, he's not really a really heavily skilled jiu-jitsu guy on the floor either. Yes, of course, he can choke people out and he knows the arsenal of submissions, you know, but I don't think he's going to submit John Jones. So, I think Jones breaks it down in the first round. Second round probably gets a finish. And I say that with respect, and I hope Smith can prove me wrong. Woodley versus Usman. Go on, how you see that one?
Yeah, I agree with you. 5-round decision. I think that Woodley clearly takes a decision. 4 rounds to 1, and even that 1 round, very, very close. Really up for debate.
Yeah. Again, I agree. I think every round's going to be super close. I do feel like it's going to go to a decision simply because both guys are so good and they've got to be careful. I think Woodley's experience in big title fights, I think is going to be a benefit for him. I think that Woodley now is really comfortable in himself as the champion. He's got so much going on. Yes, he has distractions, but he's very good at handling all that, you know, balancing all these different distractions that he has. And I feel that he's grown into, you know, a legit champion. And he's very good. He has a good team. And not to mention, he's training with Ben Askren. Ben Askren is making his UFC debut. We'll get into that as well. There's no better thing when you're training for a fight as having a teammate that's on the same card, because you can go through the entire camp together. You can get emotional support. Look, when Ken Grove used to come to my house and we do training camps, he'd have a fight coming up in Bellator. I'd have a fight coming up in the UFC. And for me, it just radiates throughout training camp. Can you hear me okay? I know I'm pixelating a bit here.
Yeah, you pixelate a little bit. I can hear you, though. It just digitized for a second. You're okay.
Yeah. So, like, you know, just little things like when I used to drive to the gym, you know, for training, it'd be 40 minutes there with traffic, 40 minutes back. You do that twice a day, you know, and it's depressing getting in the car by yourself and driving down. But when you've got a buddy to sit in the car with you and you can bullshit, you know what I mean? And you're having a good time. It makes it just little things like that. It makes a big difference. And then you go to lunch together afterwards. And then, you know, you're having your low days and they can pick you up. When they're having low days, you pick them up. You know, it's very, very good. Not to mention Ben Askren, 18-0, Olympic caliber wrestler. You know, that's a really good fucking training partner to have. So I think for all those reasons, Woodley and Still, but it'll be a close fight. It'll be a tactical fight, but I see Woodley winning. Robbie Lawler, Ben Askren. Go ahead.
Before you move on, though, you said something interesting a while ago to me that always kind of stuck with me, and I think it wasn't even on the show. It was just like in life. But we were just talking about, you know, why wouldn't anybody just immediately hire the absolute best wrestler to be their training partner, best kickboxer, best jiu-jitsu guy, like just the absolute best? Like, why, especially if you have a lot of money afforded to you, why wouldn't you always just pick the absolute best in the categories? And you made this point where you're like, well, you have to want to hang out with these guys. It's more than just being able to train and do well and then bring in that. That has to be one side of it, but you also want to show up every day. And it's like, it reminds me of like going to the gym and doing a workout that you like doing versus not like doing. Like, I hate swimming. Yeah. I can't fucking swim. If I had to go to the gym and swim, I would never show up, but I like lifting weights. So I do that because it kind of keeps me, you know, going. So I thought that was sort of an interesting, you know, even if it's not about MMA, just look at, you know, in life. You know, if you're trying to get further along in a job, just be likable, get people to like you.
100%. And I think that goes for everything. I mean, I'm trying to, you know, make my mark in the movie and acting world. It's all relationships. It really is. You know, you've got to establish relationships. You've got to be somebody that people want to work with. Yes, you've got to be talented. You've got to have the right look. You've got to be able to pull off the role. But you're also going to spend perhaps 2 months together in some remote location. And if you're a total fucking dickwad, they're going to be like, I'm not taking this guy. He's a fucking prick. I don't like being around this guy. And the same thing in MMA with coaches, with training partners. Like I've trained with some coaches over the years, and they had great technical insight, but they were just dicks. You know, and I don't want to fly off to the other side of the world, sit on a plane with them, then have to go to a hotel. Now, maybe they have their own room. Sometimes you have to share a room with them. But then you've got to train with them, and you've got to sit down for lunch and breakfast and dinner with these fucking guys. And you're like, yeah, he's a good coach, but he's a tool. You know what I mean?
And it's whatever motivates you. Like, you know, it depends. Some people read a book and get very motivated, and they're like that. And then some other people, they can't even turn a page because it would just get them bored and it would demotivate them. So I think it's sort of also what works for you and what gets you going. You know, so, you know, some guys might just get really, if I'm around somebody I don't like and their energy, I will shut down. I will not be able to perform at my best no matter what the task that I'm trying to do. Period.
Never let the actions of others control your emotions, Lewis. You have to get to a point where other people's insignificant actions don't affect your intelligence, you know? You don't want to seem like a fool. But Ben Askren, Robbie Lawler. Yes, guys, please. Ben Askren, Robbie Lawler. Big fight as well. I mean, this entire fight card is ridiculous, okay? It is. And it's great. You know why? Because it makes my job as an analyst super fucking easy. A lot of the time, I'm sitting there, having to go to Fight Pass, watch their fights, take notes, all the rest of it. Most of these guys I know off the top of my head. You know, the main card. I mean, what's the opener for the main card? Can you see it there, Lewis?
Let me pull it up right.
Zabit Magomed Sharipov versus Jeremy Stevens, or is that on the undercard? Because that's a sick fight as well.
That's the ESPN headliner, is Zabit versus Stevens.
So
what's the opening fight?
Cody Garbrandt versus Pedro Munhoz.
Yeah.
Tisha Torres versus Weili Zhang as well.
Weili Zhang. And then it's Ben Askren, Robbie Lawler, then the co-main event and the main event. I mean, that's a stacked fight card. This Weili Zhang from China, she's supposed to be very, very good. And it's a tough fight for her against Tisha Torres. Tisha Torres is the tiny tornado, Tisha Torres, in case you're wondering. Tisha Torres, the tiny tornado. But she's fighting Weili Zhang. Weili Zhang, if she beats her, then she's close, right, to getting into a title fight. And guess what? You got to think the UFC, they want that fucking Chinese champion so bad.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
With the dudes. No offense to Chinese fighters, but
hey, Chinese fighters ain't going to win a fucking title fight ever. You know what I mean? Right? I'm sorry. It just ain't going to happen. And I don't say that with a fucking...
Who's the best Chinese...
Unless one of my illegitimate children from the Bisping family, unless one of them gets in, they get into MMA, then we might have it. But on the female side of things, you know, they don't need, but it'd be so good because the UFC, they're opening this huge performance institute. They're investing a lot of money in the Chinese market, which everybody knows, you know, that's the biggest economy in the world now, China. It's fucking insane. You've never been to China, Lewis, right?
No, never been to Asia at all.
If you go to China, literally, I mean, not everybody, because obviously there's a lot of poor people, but, you know, in the cities and when you walk through the airports and whatnot, the amount of designer apparel and like high-end watches and just like these guys are dripping in money. There's a lot of very wealthy people, obviously over 1 billion people in China. So it's a big deal to get a Chinese champion. So, I mean, if she can beat Tisha Torres, she might be on a fast track to that. Cody Garbrandt, nice to see him back after a while. Obviously, those 2 losses to TJ Dillashaw. He had some funky outfit on yesterday at the press conference. Wasn't too sure about the choices of the Hawaiian shirt with the track pants, but whatever, each to their own. But that'll be a good fight.
With fashion, I feel like guys do this where they literally just pick things that clash on purpose, and then that's fashionable. It'll be that.
Well, We were talking, me and Rebecca, we were talking about this morning because I looked at them and listen, Cody's a great guy, and he's a sharp dresser. He is. So, hey, he knows more about fashion than I do. Do you know what I mean? So maybe that's.
I don't think so.
That's the hot look right now.
It's a weird thing right now. They do, like celebrities do it. I watch it. They just mismatch things. And if you act like you don't care, that's kind of stylish.
It's an Asian thing. Like the Chinese do it and they can get away with it because they got, the frames for it. They just get a Gucci fucking shirt that's like fucking like over the top and then some crazy pants that don't quite fit right and put on a pair of shoes and like have a wacky hairstyle and boom, there you go. You're fucking killing it on the catwalk.
Yeah, I'm wrong. Don't get me wrong. I dress like a fucking slob. I'm wearing a hoodie and a dumb hat. So I'm not saying that I'm more stylish than people that know about style. I'm just saying that if I was a gazillionaire and I had, everything afforded to me and every possible outfit that I could possibly want, I would never opt for that look.
No, my look now these days is very simple. T-shirt and jeans. That's it. I mean, Rebecca bought me this T-shirt for my birthday. It looks like it's Gucci, but it's not. It's just a cheap T-shirt. It's just, that looks like it could be the Gucci logo, but it's really not. It's just a cheap T-shirt, like $20, $30. But I did see it a few weeks ago. I went, I like that with the T-Rex. That's cool. And she remembered and she bought it for me.
What's the most expensive piece of clothing that you own? Piece of clothing.
All right, okay.
Not accessories, because I know you have some expensive watches that you've received as gifts.
I know. I didn't. I didn't buy this. I don't buy expensive watches. I'm not that guy. Like,
all right, that's a better question.
Buy.
What's the most money you've ever spent on a singular piece of clothing?
Okay. All right. When I went on the Conan O'Brien show, well, not suits. So we'll put suits to one side because suits can be expensive.
Yeah. And
I have to wear nice suits for on TV. So I've dropped, 2,500 on a suit,
Ooh, that's crazy.
I spent $900 on a shirt, which I left in a fucking hotel room.
Good. I'm so happy. Good.
I know. I was so annoyed when I went on the Conan O'Brien show for the GSP fight, and I thought, I'm on the fucking Conan show, baby. You know what I mean?
Pull up this picture. We got an image of that. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I thought I've got to wear something nice for that, and I thought, do I wear a suit? Nah, it's a bit try hard. I'll just wear a nice pair of boots, some jeans, and a nice shirt. So I went and bought myself a nice shirt, and like a dickhead, I strayed into the Gucci store, and then once you're in there, that's it. The sales team are on you. Oh, look at that!
That shirt is so unremarkable. I'm not even hating. I'm sure it's beautiful. It feels great. But that could be a $40 shirt from Sears. That is fucking bananas. That is a $900 shirt. That's bad shit.
$900 shirt, and I left it in a fucking hotel room. I haven't even told Rebecca because and it was her fault as well. Every time I bought something decent, it's always been my wife's fault. She's like, get it, babe. That's really nice. And I'm like, babe, it's fucking $900. I'm from Clitheroe, for crying out loud. I used to work for minimum wage. You know what I mean? I've got on a pair of fucking night trainers. I've got 3 My Protein trackies on and this T-shirt that my wife bought me. Honestly, that's how I like to dress. I'm very, very comfortable. Yeah, I buy a few nice things here and there like that if I'm going on Conan fucking O'Brien.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen every day. Like that Maserati that I bought. That was her fault as well. My buddy owns the dealership. I went down to see what kind of cars they got. And Rebecca's like, I'd won the belt against Rockhold. I just defended it against Henderson. I had world championship fucking, delusions of grandeur in my mind. And then I'm like, no, it's too much money. My wife's like, babe, you deserve it. You work so hard. You deserve it. And then I'm like, yeah, you're right. I do deserve it, don't I? So I bought it. And same thing with that fucking shirt, which I left in a hotel room. And I'm so annoyed.
But I'll tell you this much. The difference... Look, looking nice is there's value there. There's a lot of value. My point that I'm making with that shirt is that you could achieve the same exact effect with a $100 shirt, which also was crazy to me. $100 button-down shirt. I'm like, are you fucking crazy? $100 for a button-down shirt?
If you zoom in on that logo, you don't get that on a $100 shirt, buddy.
That's
okay,
true.
You got a nice little, I don't know what it is. It was like a tiger or a snake or something, So yeah, it was a nice shirt. It fit well. The cut was good. I was a little skinny in that though because I was cutting weight. When I tried it on, it fit. By the time Conan came around, I'd lost a few more pounds and I looked fucking skinny. It looked oversized and it looked crap. One of the shitty shirts I had upstairs would have looked better, but whatever. We digress.
Yeah. But the point about... I was going to say the car, though, it's a different thing, though, because you're driving the car every day. You're spending a lot of time. You're in traffic. You go to LA. It's a 2-hour drive sometimes. So, it's it's a difference between spending a weekend in a nice hotel or spending the weekend in a Motel 6. Yes, there's a bed, whatever it is, but there's an experience thing there. It's a state of mind. It goes a lot further, in my opinion, than just simply putting a shirt on at one point. But regardless, the rest of the card.
Yeah. No. And I leave nice clothing in hotels all the time. It really pisses me off because what I do is I get there, like, I just came back from Hawaii. Before that I was in Phoenix. Now I'm going to be in Vegas. Then I'm off to Wichita, then Toronto, March 10th, Ticketmaster.com, and then London. And what I do is, these days I try and be like a responsible traveler, so I get there, I get to the hotel room, I say, I'm going to unpack. You know what I mean? So, because I'll have a suit, which I'm going to wear on ESPN or whatever. So I want to hang it up. And I got a couple of dress shirts in there. So I'll hang them up. And I think, well, I'll put my couple of nice things there. And there you go. And I'm all proud of myself and I'm unpacked. But then what happens is on the Saturday night, I go and get shit-faced after the show, right? And then I'm like, fuck, I got to make it to the airport. I get out of bed super late. I start grabbing everything. I throw it all into the suitcase. And I forget about the stuff that I hung up in the wardrobe. You know what I mean? And then that's typically the most expensive stuff. So that is annoying. Anyway, that was a flawless segue into Zabit Magomed Sharipov. See what I did there?
I agree. Speaking of guys who dress nicely, Zabit Nurmagomedov is fighting this weekend. You're right.
Oh, but I saw a thing this morning on social media. Zabit, we'll just call him that, and Jeremy Stevens, which is going to be a great fight, by the way. Yeah. We're trying to get at each other, and then one of the UFC employees was having to get between them. So a little bit of bad blood.
How real is that, though? I don't think that's real because I feel like if these are professional fighters, if they really wanted to get at each other, is there any UFC official that's going to really be able to stave them off? No.
Well, for one, this was a woman, which actually helps in that situation. If it's a man, you'd be like, and you're really going to fight?
Excuse me, sir.
In the way, it's like, hey, listen, if you're going to get involved, it's like if two dogs are fighting and you try and break them up, you might get bitten on your hand. And you know what? That's your fault for fucking getting involved. And if you're a man and two professional fighters are trying to get at each other and you're going to be the hero and jump in, you might get clipped. You might get a little jab. You might get a little headbutt. You know what I mean? It's all fair game. But if there's a woman involved, you're like, all right, okay, we can't do this. So it's better when it's a woman. And to answer your question, how real is that? When things like that happen, and I used to have my fair share over the years, you see them in the hotel room, in the hotel lobby or in the UFC when you're checking in the offices. There's a whole thing. When you get there on the Tuesday, you got a ton of paperwork to sign. You got to sign your medical stuff. You got to sign your insurance stuff. You got to sign your contract. You got to sign a ton of posters. You got to sign liability waivers and all kinds of stuff, So you're doing that, and then they give you your per diem, so you get your cash for the week, so you can buy lunch for your cornermen and stuff like that, and then you get given your PR schedule, and so there's a ton of paperwork when you check in for a UFC fight, and they have a lot of employees, so there'll be multiple fighters in the room checking in with different officials at once, and then sometimes there may be your opponent there. And, you'll catch a little glance and you'll look at him and you're like, you might puff your chest out a little bit, make yourself look a little bigger. It's just things you do because, you're going to fight and you want to try and get that little mental edge. So you're not going to fight. You're not going to fight. But if you catch if you make eye contact, one of you might say, the fuck are you looking at? So then you respond, say, what the fuck are you looking at? And then you don't want to back down. And honestly, no one's going to fight. You know what I mean? I mean, it has happened once or twice, but generally neither of them
is the one.
Jones and Cormier, Diaz, he was known for that at times, but generally you're not going to actually throw down and get into a fight. But you like to portray that you would, because you want to let your guy know, hey, listen, I'm a little batshit crazy and I'll go there. I'll throw down in this fucking hotel room right now. Or this whole, you know what I'm saying?
So fight. I don't care about the money. I'll fight you right now, motherfucker.
There's a weird psychological thing. You're trying to get a psychological edge. You're trying to intimidate your opponent. Basically, essentially, that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to get a little intimidation factor prior to the fight.
It's kind of crazy, though, right? When you step back and it's kind of a crazy thing, like the way that men, not just fighters, but men sort of have to puff themselves up and talk shit the way that they talk shit. And then you kind of see it in the fight game and you go like, dudes just turn into dudes. Whatever it happens, that adrenaline kicks in, and they just turn into two kids in a schoolyard again, and they just start barking at each other. And it doesn't matter that they make a lot of money, the cameras are on. It just kind of goes there, and it goes down that path. It's very interesting.
Well, it's the animalistic nature of the animal kingdom. I mean, human beings, that's what we are. We're animals that have just highly developed, and now we're intelligent. Zabit Nurmagomedov, Sharipov probably wins, although Stevens can knock him out. What else you got?
We should touch on just legitimate friend of the show, actual friend of mine. Mickey Gall fights Diego Sanchez this weekend as well in the undercard, which I'm excited about. What do you think of this fight? Diego, definitely the biggest step up in competition for Mickey Gall, but
who did Mickey fight last?
What was the guy's name? Harrington? I have it right here. Hold on, I'll pull it up. It was George Sullivan, submission rear naked choke, round 1 on the Gaethje versus Vic card, August 25th. And then he had that loss to Randy Brown, his only loss of his career.
I mean, Mickey's he's applying himself. He's working hard. He's talented. He's big for the size. He's got good grappling, good jiu-jitsu, decent takedowns. Diego Sanchez on the flip side, back in the day, he had a very, very well-rounded game. And pardon me, he still does. He still has a well-rounded game. But we spoke of this before, a lot of miles on the clock. Why? Because, you just got to look back at Diego Sanchez versus Gray Maynard, right? If you can pull up a highlight of that real fast, Harrington, while we just discussed, that I was there. I was ringside for it in Vegas because it was couple of days or the day before the Ultimate Fighter 9 finale. So I was there because obviously I was the coach of that season. And the day before, or was it that card? Anyway, who cares? It was fucking insane. Super entertaining. The crowd went absolutely wild. But as I said before, you can't fight like that for too long. And he won season 1 of the Ultimate Fighter. Talk about longevity. It is crazy, and it just actually contradicts what I just said. Because I was saying, no, you can't have that long of a career when you fight like that. He won season 1 of the Ultimate Fighter in 2005, and he's still putting on good, entertaining fights now. So I say, congratulations to Diego Sanchez, and we should all, just give a little fucking slow clap because the guy is a warrior. The guy's been there for a long time, and he's one of the guys that helped build this fucking sport. Season 1, man, that's crazy. And he's still here. Now, has he got miles on the clock? Yes. Has he taken a lot of damage? Yes. Will that affect him in the performance? Quite possibly. But he still has that little secret sauce that makes you crazy, that makes you an exciting fighter. And when you have that, it means you can still win a fight. So it is a step up in competition for Mickey, definitely. I'm very, very intrigued by it. I wish Mickey all the best.
I agree. Look, it's also stylistically, it's a tough matchup for Mickey. This is a guy that it's not like Mickey has a huge wrestling advantage over Diego. I think he, I guess it's debatable that he has a jiu-jitsu advantage, but Diego is a guy who goes in there. We were talking about it earlier, throws caution to the wind. I don't think we were wrong earlier to say that, it isn't the best style. Yes, he's had a long career, but he is somebody who stands out as nobody else has really done that. And also he's got a lot of losses, in the second half of his career, a shit ton of losses. But whatever, every time he fights, it's super exciting. Obviously, I'm rooting for Mickey hard. I'm going to pick Mickey just because it's the new blood versus, old blood. And I feel like Diego's got some losses.
Just be honest. He's your pal. He's your friend. He's your bud. That's why you're picking him, and that's fine. That's okay. It always gets on my tits when you're just saying that because you're his friend.
No.
Well, yeah, of course I'm saying that because I'm his friend, and I want to will him. I want to put that positivity into the universe. Like when I'm working as an analyst and we have to make picks, and that's our job. And I don't like doing it. I really don't, because it backs you into a corner, and two guys are fighting, and one guy's going to win and one guy's going to lose, and you have to pick who's going to win. The problem is that sometimes these people. The UFC, when you've been around as long as I have, you've met a lot of the fighters, and you have maybe not close relationships, but enough to where when you see them, you go up, you shake hands, hey, buddy, how you doing? And you exchange pleasantries, right?
Yeah.
Now, when they have to sit there in their fucking warm-up room, and half an hour before they're going to go out and fight, and it cuts to us all sat there like little fucking pansies in our suits, and I believe this guy's going to lose. That puts a lot of negativity into that locker room, and right. I'm conscious of that. I'm aware of that, and I don't want to do that. So sometimes it's really tough. Sometimes it's really tough because you want to be honest and you've got to make your picks, but you are putting that negativity into their locker room, which then goes into their consciousness. Now, of course, if they're a strong fighter, and that's just because Michael Bisping said that they're going to lose, that's not going to affect their performance. But if it's someone that you're kind of friendly with, they might be like, this fucking asshole, man.
Yeah.
I thought we were friends. I thought we were boys.
Yeah, especially what's the point? Just so you can be right? Just so you can the next day go, told you so.
Yeah.
That's it.
Told
There's
you.
no payment. There's no nothing. You're just publicly shitting on your friend for the sake of doing it.
And they're not keeping a tally of it. There's no prize. You were right. You were right. But that's why I have this.
What is that? Oh, it's the first annual trivia champion.
UFC trivia champion. You know, I've got all kinds of gold here, Lewis. You know, not just on my watches or belts.
I tell it like it is, and everyone that knows me knows that I would tell it like it is. If I thought Mickey Gall was going to lose, I would say, sorry, Mickey. Hey, Mickey, you're not so fine. Beat it. You're going to get your ass kicked by the Nightmare. But I don't believe that. I'm picking with my head, Mr. Bisping. Mickey Gall. What is he doing?
I know nothing about this stuff. I just have awards. I know nothing. This is a number one. Okay, so this is a number one. Number one analyst. Woo!
You're the best. Wait a minute. Isn't there... Wait, time out. Real quick. Don't they do an MMA awards, and isn't one of the categories MMA Podcast of the Year?
No.
It's not?
No.
I feel like they had.
It should be, and if it was, I'd like to think that we would win. Although Ariel Helwani does tend to sweep the boards in that regard. And this weekend, I'm not sure if Ariel's going to be there, but I'm working the pay-per-view, my first time on ESPN, and I'm going to be working with Chael Sonnen. So that should be fun.
Oh, I love
that
it.
should be an interesting one. Speaking of MMA podcast guys, so that should be a fun one this weekend. So check it out. Excuse me, if you can, ESPN Plus. I'm not sure. It's very confusing these days. I think it's ESPN or ESPN Plus. But yeah, no. I'm not sure. But yeah, so there you go. Make sure you check out the fights this weekend. It's a stacked fight card from top to bottom. We're going to be doing a post-fight show on the Sunday. And the post-fight show, if we do it early enough, may even get on the post-fight show as opposed to the pre-fight show, which came on the post-fight show.
Well, it's impossible for us to do this post-fight show before the fight. So I think no matter what, we've nailed this one.